MeMonster.
Chapter 76. Only a day had passed since Helene's concert. Li Dongjun appeared in the middle of Himalaya's mountain range. In this mountain that was filled with monsters strong enough to survive the extreme climate which humans could not even bear, Li Dongjun only wore a black martial arts uniform. Of course, it was by no means an ordinary martial arts uniform. It was called Jyeonbok, a martial arts uniform made from the scales of dragon. This special uniform would allow its wearer to feel comfortable in any sort of temperature. His black eyes grimly gazed at his surroundings. This time, his journey wasn't as easy as usual thanks to numerous Murim warriors and the people from Earth who had decided to pay attention to the Murim people after realizing their strange movements. Earth's surveillance technology was far superior compared to those of Murim, and it would be difficult for them to completely hide their traces in case Earth's people decided to find them earnestly. Didn't Li Dongjun go back and forth from Korea to the Himalaya often? Well, it was only possible for him to come to this place without having to fight anything or being exposed to the camera because he was Li Dongjun. He was a master who had already reached the realms of Xinhua. As he stepped into the mountain range raging with blizzard, Li Dongjun started reminiscing about his past. It was a memory from a distant past. A memory of the time when he took over Dharma's body and inherited Dharma's will to preach justice all over Murim. This is a rotten world where everyone has lost their righteousness. They are only fighting each other without thinking about people's well-being. Blood is spilling, lands are trampled. Who will show this world the true meaning of righteousness? There was a time when he was obsessed with justice. The martial arts he inherited from Dharma was powerful. He thought he could cleanse the chaotic Murim from all kinds of corruption. So he decided to take his sword and swept Murim in order to enact justice. However, the problem was he shed too much blood. At first, it was Li Dongjun himself who forbade killing according to Dharma's will, but after he realized that those he had saved came back to him for a revenge, he started to kill anyone who could become the seeds of evil. Dharma advised, "Prohibit killing." He did not listen. Dead do not shed blood, so how could they shed tears even when they died? He did not listen. Mind is the bridle that binds you and your own greatest enemy. Give up your life. He did not listen. Li Dongjun continued his massacre. He believed that if all evil was killed, Murim would soon become a peaceful place. So he killed those who did anything evil and those who were showing signs of becoming evil. When 10,000 lives were killed just like that, only emptiness was left inside Li Dongjun's heart. So has the world become a good place? When we think of good, it is good karma, and when we think of evil, it is bad karma. A fool wants to end anguish and obtain nirvana, but because of his obsession to end anguish, he cannot obtain nirvana. You are obsessed with justice, so you can no longer look at justice. The defilement is not real. I am no longer obsessed with justice. I am justice myself. He killed the head of a family with dozens of pillagers in his family. He didn't care about a wicked family. He killed a crying child because he was stealing together with his father. He killed a mother who had a child because her husband was a murderer and she kept her mouth shut despite knowing his sin. Some died with honor and others died with dignity. Death was no longer new to him. He simply continued killing. He killed again and again. He killed everything. And then, the moment he thought he had almost eradicated all evil in Murim, he met her. It's sad, the fact that my dream was so vain. She was Xiao Yungyeon, who was also known as Chenma. She was the leader of a group that led many evil called Chenma sect. It was also a source of evil that might soon befall upon Murim. Xiao Yungyeon could not stay composed in front of her impending death. However, she was ready to die with honor. If I knew I would die like this, it would have been better to die buried under the snow that day. This was because she had no reason to live any longer. Everything she knew had crumbled and become dust. Now, after killing her, Li Dongjun would complete his endeavor. All evil in this world would be punished, and that meant a good clean world was waiting for him after that. However, why? Looking at tears dripping from Xiao Yungyeon's pink eyes, Li Dongjun couldn't lift his sword. Seol Yungyeon, she was stronger and wiser than anyone he had ever met. In addition, her pink eyes reminded him of a lotus flower blooming in the middle of a snowfield. They were a beautiful pair of eyes that could shake his heart sutra. He fell in love at first sight. What a tragedy. The Supreme Dharma hesitated. Supra Dharma, who lived to annihilate all evil, fell in love with the wickedest woman whom he had met at the very end of his journey. The world would laugh and lament you. Once upon a time, he was confident that nothing could shake his heart. After being reborn as Dharma, his heart was harder than Jumgangseok. Nothing could faze him anymore. But, throb. Seol Yungyeon's eyes melted Dharma's heart. Why didn't he know about the hearts of countless people who died for their loved ones? Why didn't he know the fact that love was painful? That your choice. I can't do it. Moment you save her, you will defile the souls of those whom you killed in pursuit of your so-called justice. I know, but still I can't kill her. If you do this, you will never be able to raise your head in front of those who you killed in the name of justice. However, he had already made his decision. The dead don't have blood nor soul, so how can I bow my head in front of them? In the end, he decided to save Seol Yungyeon. Of course, it wasn't easy. Evil circulated through the world and polluted the world once again. The Murem was once again brought into evil, and they wanted Chenma and Dharma to disappear from the world. Let's go back to Earth. For that reason, Dharma decided to return to Earth and put a ban on the people who returned from the Murem, but Seol Yungyeon refused. After forcibly digging me out of the tomb of a broken dream, now you are trying to insult my last honor. You are still alive, you can do anything with that life, come to Earth with me. My breath is indeed still here, but my soul has long been torn to pieces. Can you call this being alive? Seol Yungyeon kept trying to end her own life, and eventually Lee Dongjun was forced to destroy her inner chi and had to take measures to stop her from harming herself. And so he locked her in the Himalayas. Whenever he saw her eyes, which were filled with nothing but resentment, his heart ached. If she asked for it, he was confident that he could bring the entire world and lay it on her feet. However, she wanted nothing. There is only one thing I want you to stop breathing before my eyes. She was unable to break out from her despair even after 4 years of returning to Earth. Chenma had become increasingly devastated. It wasn't like there was nothing she asked during that period. Sometimes she asked to be killed, and sometimes she begged Dharma to allow her to use her power. However, he refused all of it. Not only would he not kill her in order to go outside, Chenma had to make an oath to him. If you become my girl, I will take you out. It wasn't easy. Seol Yungyeon's attitude, which was only cold, did not even show any signs of change. However, her attitude started to change little by little. I want to eat a bright red cherry today. Is there a horseshoe bird on Earth? I can't remember. It would be nice if I could see it again. I want a horn of Chilgaksu. I want to have a pretty martial arts uniform, a type of men's uniform that suits anyone who wears it. What made her change her attitude, the reason was still unknown, but a smile was gradually blooming on Seol Yungyeon. It was the first smile he had ever seen on her, and it was more beautiful than anything else in the world. He was happy because she smiled. So Lee Dongjun ran again and again in order to get what she wanted. He took the risk of being exposed to the association into account. He worked in the shadows using an alias of Hangyopsa. Thanks to that, his abilities were revealed to the public, but fortunately his identity was not revealed. You see Autumn, if it wasn't for him. Happy days would be waiting for him. Together with Seol Yungyeon and his adopted daughter, Shin Haijai, they would have had an ordinary but happy future. However, everything collapsed. It's okay though, I only need her to look at me. Even if everyone in the world turned away from him, he would be satisfied as long as his loved one took care of him. Maybe that alone could be called the definition of happiness. While thinking like that, he almost reached the hut where Chenma lived. Kagung. Lee Dongjun stopped his steps at the noise coming from somewhere. Immediately after, he could feel the trace of his band vibrate all over the place. And then the snow stopped. What's happening? It snowed every day here in Himalaya. It was because of the SSS-ranked monster Bingbik Snow who came to reality due to the dungeon manifestation decades ago. With Li Dongjun's power, it was possible to restore the climate of the mountain range to its original state by killing it, but he did not do it, because the existence of Bingbik Snow was like a prison for Chen Ma. Kurung Kurung. A dark cloud with thunder and lightning was coming, still it didn't snow. No way did someone kill the Bingbik Snow. At the moment when he had such doubts, Li Dongjun frowned at the pressure of the air around him. Dozens or even 100 warriors of Murim had gathered here. How? No warrior from Murim could ever chase Li Dongjun. Even modern science couldn't catch him. What the hell? What is happening? As soon as he pulled out his sword, hundreds of human figures appeared from all sides. They were all a familiar face for him, because it was he himself who had drawn the ban on them. The ban vibrated. Only then, Li Dongjun realized the situation and frowned. Dharma, since the Murim Alliance unanimously announced that you are Murim public enemy, accept your death silently. Jeomhee Ha Sun-young stood at the very front and spoke out. She stared at Li Dongjun with a stiff face. Subsequently, the Murim people started to shout one by one. Dharma, do you remember that you cut off the arms of my seventh son for stealing and threw it into a pile of garbage? I, the party leader of the Sashandangmun, came to this place to avenge my son. Dharma, after destroying my family, do you remember cutting their heads and leaving it in the middle of Yongwon? I really want to ask you, were their sins so heavy that you had to go to that and punish them so cruelly? Dharma, you dog-like bastard, I've been working hard on a construction site after you sealed my Mugong, but you are playing hero. The sky and the earth can be my witness. I am not ashamed. Supreme Dharma. 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 One by one, they began to spit out their grudges towards Dharma. It was an endless barrage of resentment, and Dharma, who had no choice but to receive the resentment of hundreds of Murim warriors, looked at them with a cold face. Is it like this in the end? In the midst of a barrage of resentment from everyone that hated him, Li Dongjun felt a certain emotion well inside him. It was loneliness. He devoted his life to bring justice, but in the end, the only thing he received was resentment. It's futile. For what purpose was his justice? For what had he been fighting for? Why did they burst out of anger just because they did not understand his justice and could not overcome their anger? If they opened their eyes a little wider and focused on the bigger picture, they would be able to see a better and cleaner world. But still, it's okay. I only need one woman to understand me. Li Dongjun gazed at the hut in the distance. Creak. The door of the hut opened and Xiao Yungyun stepped out with her brilliant platinum hair. Chen Ma Xiao Yungyun, his one and only woman. She stepped out from her hut with a graceful gait. Unlike her usual appearance, she wore neat plain clothes that she had never shown to anyone. There was a hint of pink that blended in her platinum hair. It was a dress that matched the name Xiao Yungyun rather than Supreme Chen Ma. She slowly raised her head and made eye contact with Li Dongjun. However, something was strange. Xiao Yungyun. Her eyes were extremely cold. She stared at him with the same expression as the Murim people around him. Xiao Yungyun looked at him while thinking about something else. Then, she turned around with a faint smile and gestured toward the hut. Then from the inside of the hut, Yu Xiaodam walked out. He was wearing a Chinese-style black and white martial arts uniform. Li Dongjun's eyes trembled in shock. The martial arts uniform that Yu Xiaodam wore wasn't that the same uniform that Li Dongjun had gifted Chen Ma. But what was more shocking to him was their actions afterward. Yu Xiaodam stepped on the snow as he walked towards Xiao Yungyun. Then he carefully wrapped his arms around her waist. It was as if they were old lovers. What? Thump. Li Dongjun's heart was beating frantically. What am I looking at right now? He couldn't understand it. He couldn't accept reality. Thump thump. Child, calm down. Protagonist's composure is extremely disturbed. The effect of the skill Heart Sutra SSS rank decreases. His emotions are shaking. The effect of the skill Dharma Sutra SSS plus rank decreases. Keep your composure. Thump thump. Otherwise the Dharma Sutra. Somehow, Dharma inside his head tried to calm Li Dongjun down, but such efforts were futile when Chen Ma opened her pale pink lips. I am sorry, Dharma. What are you sorry for? Xiao Yungyun gave Dharma the answer with action rather than words. She stretched out her hand towards Yu Xiaodam's cheeks and smiled. Dharma had never seen it before. She had never shown him such a face that was filled with happiness. Then she kissed him. "Hi, it's really good." Then she parted her lips and exhaled a hot sigh. She slowly turned her head towards Dharma with both of her arms still wrapped around Yu Xiaodam's neck. With a voice as beautiful as a lotus, she declared, "I love this man, and I pledge to be with him for the rest of my life." Crack. Her declaration broke something inside Dharma. Chapter 77. In order to learn the Heart Sutra, Li Dongjun had to abandon all the sins forbidden in the teachings, and he pretty much successfully gave up most of his sins. Until yesterday, when an unexpected accident happened at Helene's concert. Yu Xiaodam, a mere low-level hunter, dared to anger him and drove him into the corner. He was also jealous of Yu Xiaodam because he was now holding the woman he loved in his arms. He was certain that even if all the warriors of Murem on Earth started to be hostile towards him, he would be able to fight and win with his own strength. Protagonist Li Dongjun uses the skill Lion Roar S rank. In front of his anger, the snow around him burst, revealing the bare ground of the Himalaya, which had not been revealed for a long time. Right now, all he wanted was to smash Yu Xiaodam's head to pieces. He would cut his tongue off so he would never play such wicked tricks ever again. He would cut off the lips that dared to meet Xiao Yungyun's lips, pull out the eyes that dared to look at him, and rip apart those dirty hands that dared to touch her waist. However, he knew that all warriors of Murem that were present here wouldn't let him do it. Kurung Quang. A spear fell from the sky, and the Aha hammer, known to be the hardest of all in the world, was swung to burst Li Dongjun's head, and lastly the most beautiful whip ever made twisted like a snake to break Li Dongjun's bones. 3 kings, 6 emperors, and 300 masters. Their inner chi exploded, staining the Himalayas with disaster. Mountains collapsed, holes pierced in the sky, clouds settled, and the earth rose. Someone who saw this scene from afar might even say that it was a beautiful disaster. However, for Li Dongjun, he had no time to appreciate the scene. His gaze was fixed solely on Yu Xiaodam. However, the only thing he looked at was unapproachable. It means that everything is wrong. Li Dongjun yelled and burst the air, but he failed to kill even a single warrior of Murem around him. It was strange. Originally, they would have died like a worm just by a simple gesture from him. He was the only master in Murem who entered the realm of Shinwa Kaiyang. The difference between him and them was obvious. However, strangely enough, every single one of them was still standing. You really think so? Pardon. Protagonist's 5 emotions of sin have risen. The effect of the skill Heart Sutra SSS rank has been removed. Protagonist's emotions are shaking violently. The effect of the skill Dharma Sutra SSS plus rank is greatly reduced. Skill Prediction SSS rank was obscured by his narrow sight. The effect of the skill Steel Heart S rank has been removed. The effect of skill Emergency Wings S rank has been removed. Confirmation of protagonist Li Dongjun's level change, 500-127. It was only his own misunderstanding, they didn't get stronger. Has my body become heavier? He couldn't feel what he could have felt before. He couldn't do what he could have done before. It was all because he lost his composure. It was because he can't control his sins. It all happened because the Heart Sutra disappeared, and he could no longer maintain his power as Dharma. However, even if he knew it, he couldn't do anything to change it. He couldn't get rid of the rising jealousy, anger, as well as the dirty and nasty malice within him. A deep red blood started to dripping from his eyes. It soon started dripping from his nose and his mouth too. Need to be calm. I can't. You are finally completely obsessed with sins and messed up your own vessel. Crisis arises for the main character Li Dongjun. So I will finally give you strength. Didn't you tell me that you couldn't use your power? I did, however, even with the little power I have now, it is possible to help you maintain the calmness of your heart. Protagonist correction is activated. Confirmation of protagonist Li Dongjun's level change, 548. Guaheng. A surge of inner chi exploded with Li Dongjun at its center. Its power seemed to resemble the clouds, the luscious green mountains, and the flowing clear water, all at the same time. Hey, Juke, what is this sudden? Gosh. The warriors of Murim were forced to take a step back because they could not withstand Li Dongjun's mighty power. It was impossible to completely restore his old power, but with his current power, it was enough to deal with the warriors of Murim who gathered here. When his gaze, which was filled with jealousy and rage until moments ago, disappeared, Li Dongjun raised his head and looked around intimidatingly. The warriors from Murim were shaken by the icy cold glare directed towards them. It was as if Dharma was looking at them like he was looking at a bug that could be crushed any moment. It was as if his presence itself had become an impregnable wall, which was as high as Mount Tai. No one could step forward after feeling such pressure. Truly the best under heaven who in the world would be able to compete with Supreme Dharma. Everyone's presence couldn't help but quake under such pressure. It was such an overwhelming pressure even for warriors of Murim who didn't have the words give up in their dictionary and had appeared in every fight with determination to die. Jeomhee Ha Sunyoung realized that this moment was that time. Is it really now? She remembered the talk that she had with Yu Seodam the other day. Ha Sunyoung, I think Dharma's power will not be as strong as before. He will be quite vulnerable. Maybe he'll be at the level where the warriors from Murim can deal with. I don't know what kind of method you used, but that's good news. But, Yu Seodam said once again, at some point Dharma may suddenly regain his power, or he may suddenly become smarter, or he may have power that he originally didn't have. Does that make any sense? Do you mean he'll get an enlightenment during the battle? That thing is only possible in novels. You are right, that common cliché is the problem. She couldn't understand Yu Seodam's words, but listened to his solution nevertheless. First of all, when Dharma regains his strength, talk to him and repeat what I am saying. Are you sure would some words really work against Dharma, who is blinded by anger? It's a martial arts cliché to talk to the boss in the middle of the final duel rather than fighting. Is that so? She still couldn't figure out what Yu Seodam was talking about. There was only one important thing. As Yu Seodam said, Supreme Dharma suddenly regained his original power, so this was the correct timing. Listen to me, O Supreme Dharma. The eyes of warriors of Murim instantly turned towards Ha Sunyoung's high-pitched voice, which seemed to echo across the entire mountain range. Dharma too controlled his strength and smiled leisurely as he looked at Ha Sunyoung. Do you still think your justification is right? Don't you feel anything even after seeing the people of Murim who were hurt by your justice and had no choice but to shed tears? It was inappropriate for Ha Sunyoung, but on the other hand, it was a great line for Jeomhee. Even though she didn't learn how to play the role of lion, her voice contained a great charisma. However, in the end, such charisma was nothing but a single line in front of Protagonist's presence. Probably, Dharma will try to prove his justice through dialogue. Because that was the way of a protagonist. All he needed to do was admit it. However, there was one thing that Yu Seodam didn't expect. It was the fact that Li Dongjun had a much more glib tongue than he estimated. After slowly calming the excitement, Li Dongjun opened his mouth. You don't understand anything. Dharma Supreme slowly opened his mouth. Because of my justice, the world has become better. Yes, I apologize for the little wounds and tears you had to shed in the process. But I do not intend to take back my justice, and I do not regret it. My justice was right in the end, and couldn't you live in a better world because of it? Where is the better world that you speak about? All sinners were punished. In a calm voice, he said so as he looked towards the warriors of Murim and the victims of his own justice at the same time. I pulled out the eyes and arms of the child who had committed robbery to make sure he never sinned again. The eyes of people of Murim reddened after they heard those words. I killed a mother who gave birth to a murderer because the second child from the same womb can also sin. Some people sobbed at those words. I killed all the corrupt officials who were the cause of famine. I killed the kings and the nobles that caused the war. I found and executed all the sinners who lived even after committing sins. I did not discriminate against people. I simply made a clear distinction between those who sin and those who do not. Li Dongjun's expression turned calmer and calmer. Since sin originates from people, if no one committed it, sins would soon disappear. I went all over Yongwon to get rid of sin, and the world became cleaner than ever. Do you understand now? This is the world I foresaw, an endlessly wide and endlessly clean world. For that reason, Dharma raised his head and glared towards Yu Xiaodong. He aimed his sword at him and tried to finish his speech. Yu Xiaodong, you also have to be exe, cute. However, the Supreme Dharma could not finish his words. Through the old door of the hut from which Yu Xiaodong and Xiao Yungyun walked out, he saw a familiar face. Xin Haijai. Dad. She was looking at Li Dongjun with trembling eyes. Bewilderment was clearly painted on her face, but the coldness on her skin proved that this moment was not a dream, but a reality. So this is the meaning of the words at that time. Yesterday, Yu Xiaodong said these words when he met Xin Haijai and Ha Sunyang. From now on, you will know the truth about your father. If you don't want to, we won't tell you anything. But if you want, if you know everything, you will feel extremely hurt. He clearly warned Xin Haijai, and if she didn't want it, Yu Xiaodong was going to use a different method to destroy the protagonist, Supreme Dharma. There was no reason to hurt someone who had nothing to do with this fight. However, she decided to do it. No, I have to see everything with my own eyes. That's why she was here now. With a trembling voice, Xin Haijai was able to ask Li Dongjun her question. Your words just now, were they real? She had already heard the old story of Supreme Dharma through Ha Sunyang and Daniel, the story of the victims who had died in the purge he committed for the sake of his justice. However, she was the daughter of Li Dongjun. She was not convinced that the man in their story was really her father. In the end, she thought that the person who did such a terrible thing could never be her father. He was poor at expressing his emotions, but he was sweeter than anyone else, and he was a caring father. In the past, there was a time when she dreamed an impossible dream of becoming a hunter while having an ether fit rate of 1%. Xin Haijai, who had the worst talent, could never be a hunter and had been told to give up her dreams all her life. However, she couldn't. She witnessed her own biological parents being eaten alive by a monster. That's why she hated monsters, and at the same time, with her conviction to save the weak, she kept trying. Then she met Li Dongjun. They didn't share the same blood, but the man eventually became his father despite her unreasonable demands. He helped her to realize her dream to become a hunter. It wasn't through superpower, but a mystical abilities called martial arts. With this power, you no longer have to let go of your hands and watch weak people die in front of you. She practiced hard every day. It wasn't because she was obsessed with her poor sense of justice. She knew she couldn't save everyone in this world. Still, if she could save a young child and the elderly in front of her, that would be enough. But the powers she inherited were actually used to kill the weak, not saving them. Dad, I still trusted you until the end, however. Calm down, Xin Haijai. I'll explain everything. I do not like it. I am now. When Xin Haijai stepped back, Li Dongjun was flustered. His extended hand only scared Xin Haijai even more. She hid herself behind Yu Xiaodong in fear. Seeing that, Li Dongjun's chest sank. Why? He looked around. The warriors of Murem, the 3 kings and 6 emperors, as well as Jiomhi. In addition, the lovely Xiao Yungyun and his one and only precious daughter, Xin Haijai. Why is everyone standing next to Yu Xiaodong? He couldn't understand it. He lived half of his life for the sake of justice, but why were they gathered towards someone who acted only for the profit in front of them? No, it's okay, even if everyone in the world denied him. Xin Haijai, believe me, you should understand my justice, right? As much as I knew you, you also know me the best, right? Dad. Xin Haijai opened her mouth. Li Dongjun looked at her desperately, trying to grasp his last hope. That's not justice, it was more like a monster that only has faith. His reason for living had been denied by his most precious someone. The Skill Heart Sutra SSS rank has completely disappeared due to negative emotions. Confirmation of protagonist Li Dongjun's level change, 500-150. Knowing that his strength had weakened, the masters rushed from everywhere, but Li Dongjun did not even resist. No, to be exact, he couldn't resist. Chapter 78. Yu Autumn looked at Li Dongjun and thought that Shin Haiji's appearance was much more effective than he initially thought. In the fierce fight that ensued, Li Dongjun was struggling without even being able to show his strength. The wounds on his body kept piling on and his legendary martial arts uniform, Juryeonbok, was torn apart. Stab! Something hot and something cold pierced Li Dongjun's back at the same time. It was a dagger covered in poison, a dragon-shaped spear, and an axe that was rumored to have been forged from a 1,000-year tree. Those three weapons took turns stabbing through Li Dongjun. It was an ugly and miserable fight, not worthy of the name the last battle of the strongest under heavens. His decreased level proved to have a big and decisive effect. In fact, even if Li Dongjun admitted his guilt, Shin Haiji would still appear and break the protagonist correction. Then, shaken by her reaction, Li Dongjun would lose a whopping 150 levels. In the process, some of his skills would either disappear or become weaker, and that clearly changed his whole spec. Probably some warriors of Murim who gathered at this place, including Ha Sunyoung, had a combat power of around level 300. In a fight where even the hidden power of Dharma, the protagonist correction, had already been used, Li Dongjun did not have any more fighting power left within him. Stab! Then Ha Sunyoung's swords penetrated Supreme Dharma's chest. Right after that, silence enveloped the once noisy Himalaya. It was a very quiet death for someone who was hailed as the strongest, for someone who once commanded the world. No one grieved his death. But no one was pleased with his death either. Because all warriors of Murim knew how miserable a lonely death in a cold, windy snow was. Thus, everyone was silent in front of the death of the one who once shook the world with his wrong justice. Amidst the silence, Shin Haiji quietly burst into tears. Yu Autumn couldn't bring himself to comfort her. She said it was her own decision to appear there. Anyway, it was not an exaggeration to say that she was the one who drove Li Dongjun to his death. And then, you have successfully hunted a level 500 protagonist. And after the message appeared, Yoga. Yu Autumn groaned as a wave of pain suddenly swept through his body. He could feel his bones twisted, his skin crack, and all the sudden changes that took place within his body. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Seol Youngyeon asked while Shin Haiji tried to help him while she was still shedding tears. But he couldn't do anything, even his voice refused to get out because of the pain that seemed to burn his whole body. It was as if someone forcefully grabbed his bone, cut it into pieces, and then reassembled it. Or it was a sensation akin to when someone took your intestines out and replaced it with a whole new set. And suddenly, from his body, a pure white light erupted. It was an energy made of pure mana. The warriors of Murim started to look at him one by one, and they opened their mouths in amazement. Isn't that metamorphosis? Oh my god. What was metamorphosis? By passing through Imdakyongmik and at the gates of life and death, you would gain a beautiful young body, and no matter how old you turned, you would remain the same. Furthermore, your lifespan would also increase drastically. Only masters who had achieved a very high level were able to undergo metamorphosis. As a matter of fact, there were less than 20 masters alive who had gone through metamorphosis. I cannot believe it. All warriors of Murim in this place admitted the resourcefulness of Yu Autumn. Thanks to him, they were able to assemble here and get their revenge. However, that didn't mean they admitted his fighting prowess. But metamorphosis wasn't something that anyone could easily achieve. Only one in thousands of geniuses could be successful after decades of special training. Even if you say you can't believe it, that must be a metamorphosis. It was a phenomenon where energy of nature condensed in a single place and cleaned all impurities inside one's body and replaced it with completely new energy. However, the reality was totally different. Your level has increased by 50 plus 5 levels. Additional 20 levels were given after overcoming an overwhelming difference. Your level has been increased by 20. Additional 15 levels were given after hunting a protagonist who took maximum probability. Your level has increased by 15. The stats that couldn't be absorbed are distributed as talents and skills. Talents Swordsmanship A+ rank were upgraded into Swordsmanship S rank. Skill 6 Sense F rank were upgraded into 6 Sense C rank. Skill. It was a phenomenon that occurred due to the sudden changes in UC Autumn's body, which was too weak before. It was far from something grand like metamorphosis. However, in the eyes of warriors of Murim, it was indeed a metamorphosis. And just when the light faded, Ha Sun Young, who watched UC Autumn transform into a new person, opened her mouth towards warriors of Murim. Can everybody listen to me? Her voice, unlike her usual tone, carried the charisma of a master who had lived for more than half a century. Once she was sure that everybody was paying attention to her, she immediately brought out the subject. Although this is Earth, as long as there's people of Murim living here, it can be seen as Murim, so I would like to make a suggestion. What kind of suggestions? As you may know, we all come from different places, different races, and different nationalities. How about recreating the Murim sect here in the modern age? Murim sect, huh? When the warriors of Murim responded quite positively, Ha Sun Young spoke once again. We people of Murim are far fewer in number compared to the hunters, even after counting our kin who are still hiding themselves in various places in society. If we move out individually, we will only be swung over by the Hunter Association, but if all of us are firmly united as the Murim sect, we won't be shaken easily. Li Dongjun's ban was no more. People of Murim would be able to use their power freely, but would the Hunter Association and numerous guilds keep their hands away from them? Of course not. In order to be able to use their techniques, they would try to make contacts with people of Murim to steal their secrets of Mugong. However, if the new Murim sect, which had been changed to befit modern times, could protect them, no one would be able to treat the Murim people carelessly. However, the most important problem still hasn't been addressed yet. Someone said, "How will we determine who the leader will be?" After listening to the question, Ha Sun Young smirked. Her expression was as if the answer was obvious. Wouldn't it be given to the strongest? The strongest one. It was really a beautiful word. As the Murim people started to get excited, Ha Sun Young said without missing her chance. But there is still one problem left. What problem are you talking about? Most of the Murim people on Earth lived in hiding. The knowledge and wisdom we possess are insufficient to work as someone with mystical ability. That's why I'd like to propose to make Hunter UC Autumn as the military advisor of the Murim sect. Military advisor. It was a position usually given to an aristocrat who excelled in using their brain. And of course, physical strength was also necessary to take this seat. It was a seat reserved for those who could take responsibility for anything related to strategizing for the Murim sect. And UC Autumn was someone who was well suited for the seat. Wasn't he someone who revealed Supreme Dharma's secret to the world, gathered warriors of Murim in one place, weakened Dharma's strength by attacking his weaknesses, and eventually hunted the strongest man in the world without any casualties? There was no room left for objections. With his resourcefulness paired with the metamorphosis he had just finished, he had become someone that could be trusted with power. Although Hunter UC Autumn isn't someone from Murim, I think there's no reason to say something like that to the modern Murim sect. I am in favor. Starting with Daniel, who was on the side of Jeomhee from the beginning, all the people from Murim started to agree as well. Ha Sun Young smiled brightly and exchanged glances with UC Autumn. In fact, creating the modern Murim sect was something UC Autumn had been thinking for a while now. Because after Li Dongjun's death, the ban he created would disappear. There was a need to find a way to control the people of Murim. From the very beginning, he was thinking of putting a lid on it, but no doubt, the effect of leveling up masked as metamorphosis gave him a better opportunity. By the way, that Nunam, she speaks better than I thought. Normally, she looked so ordinary, it was easy to mistake her as a normal neighborhood Nuna who handled swords pretty well. But now he could see her true appearances. Now, with the military advisor decided, the next one will be the seat of leader of the modern Murim League and fight a duel. It was a man called Kwon Hwang who brought the story up while bumping his both fists. Exactly in 3 days, let's meet here in the Himalayas again. That was how the Murim sect, which was unlikely to be seen again, was recreated in the 21st century. The clouds split and the sunset broke through them. By the time all the people of Murim descended from the mountain, it was already late in the evening. Xiao Yungyun was still there running her hand all over the cabin's wall. Did she have any regrets left, or maybe, did she have more work to do since Xiao Yungyun said she was going to stay for a while? Yu Xiaodam also remained in her hut waiting for her. Xiao Yungyun lifted her finger as she blew her breath. Then an energy resembling a lotus blossomed. It was the essence of the Chenma sect as well as Chenma Xiao Yungyun. Yu Xiaodam asked for Xiao Yungyun, who seemed to be crying happily as she unraveled her inner qi. Isn't the original Chenma Sutra's color red? It was, but when I used it, it turned pink. I don't know why either. It's pretty. Don't you see I am the one using it? Of course it will be pretty. Yu Xiaodam laughed at her confident words. Thank you for your hard work. When Yu Xiaodam said that, Xiao Yungyun picked up the lotus and looked into his eyes. Her pink eyes, which gave a mysterious feeling, were smiling playfully. Aren't you the one who works the hardest? No, you're so good at acting. I didn't think you would accept my idea. After realizing that the level of Dharma Li Dongjun decreased as his emotions shook, Yu Xiaodam immediately prepared this method. It was an idea to anger Li Dongjun as much as possible by pretending to be a lover with Chenma Xiao Yungyun. However, this was a pretty sensitive issue. Was it really easy for someone who was once called the Supreme to play the part of a lover in front of many people? So all I have to do is express my affection to you, is that right? Yes. If that's the case, I'll do it myself. However, as if to ridicule his anxiety, Xiao Yungyun did much better than he expected. All he did was awkwardly wrap his hands around her waist and let Xiao Yungyun hold both his cheeks and kiss him as if she was dealing with her real lover. Honestly, Yu Xiaodam was more embarrassed at that time but was pretending to be calm. However, what are you talking about? Xiao Yungyun said as she looked towards Yu Xiaodam with a playful smile. I have never acted. Pardon. The trace of playfulness was apparent on her face, yet her eyes were looking straight towards Yu Xiaodam. I was once a Chenma whom they hailed as the supreme under the heavens and reigned on land. In the middle of the hundreds of people of Murim, how could I become a fake lover of someone? That I was a Chenma in the past. Xiao Yungyun smiled and slowly approached Yu Xiaodam. She only reached Yu Xiaodam's chest, but somehow she looked like a giant. But not now. I've given the name Chenma and chosen to return as a normal woman, and it's your responsibility. I understand your words. Am I still awkward? Thud. Yu Xiaodam's back touched the wall of the hut. Xiao Yungyun put her hand on his chest, then fumbled with her own clothes with her other hand and handed one of her straps towards Yu Xiaodam. This. I wish for the wall between us to disappear. The string he held on his hand was nothing but a ribbon that tied Xiao Yungyun's clothes tightly. Pull it, then we will get closer together. She said that and closed her eyes. After that, Yu Xiaodam pulled the string without hesitation. Chapter 79. Shout out to our new patron, Rabusmer, Samuel, and Carlos. You guys are awesome. We really appreciated your support. Thank you so much. Xiao Yungyun quietly opened the door of the cabin and went outside. Wind brushed past her cheek. Unlike before, it wasn't a fierce cold wind but a comfortable warm wind. She walks on the snowy ground without leaving any trace of footsteps. She was originally a warrior who rose to the status of Chenma, or in Earth terms of superpower ranking, she is a SSS rank superhuman. So even if she didn't have to try, trace erasing come naturally to her. Xiao Yungyun sat on a rock on the hillside while watching the sun rising through the clouds. Her facial expressions looked better than ever. Sigh. As she exhaled, her warm breath filled the air. In fact, if she ever found any chance to kill herself, she would do it without thinking twice. There was a time when Supreme Chenma led her own people. The path she walked soon became her will, and she spread her dream across the world. In this process, she lost numerous comrades. They were people who didn't cower in fear even in the face of death, and every single one of them would always leave the same word behind. Make your dreams come true. When was it? It was a memory from a distant place she couldn't clearly remember anymore. I want you to walk your own path, follow your own dreams. You don't have to go down to the same painful path as me. You don't have to carry my burden. Please make your dream come true. Those were the last words from her benefactor. However, she had no dreams for herself. Therefore, she made the dream of the late Supreme Chenma as her own, the dream of making the Chenma sect as the center of the world. However, her dream collapsed. The Chinma sect fell into ruins, and she, the last evidence of the group, had her inner chi sealed. She was trapped in a space of around 10 pyong in the middle of nowhere, with no human contact or even the freedom to kill herself. Each and every day was like hell. She lost everything precious to her. She had no reason to live anymore, yet she couldn't even take her own life. That was why she had been crying every day for the last 4 years. If there was hell, would it be a place like this? No matter how much she begged Dharma to kill her, he refused and proposed a deal that was worse than the hell she currently dealt with. He asked her to put down and give up the name Chen Ma, the essence of her existence, and become just an ordinary woman. Was there anything more terrible than that? I'd rather die than give up the name Chen Ma. Like that, while she barely lived by and put down everything, a mysterious butterfly flew through the window and said, "It'll come to you." Her heart raced, her forgotten hope of leaving this damn snowy mountain once again resurfaced. She no longer dreams about the Chinma sect. Chinma no Xiaojiangyun was finally able to dream for herself. "How are you today?" The silver-colored butterfly didn't let Xiao Yungyun wallow in despair alone. It constantly visited and talked to her. "I had ramyun for breakfast today. Was a gift from my friend. Weather is nice here." Xiao Yungyun could not have a normal conversation for 5 years. This included the 4 years she was locked up in Murim. At best, it was a one-sided quarrel with Dharma, her eternal enemy. Xiao Yungyun desperately clinged on to the silver butterfly and lived with a newfound anxiety. What should I do if he starts hating me and leaves me? She didn't want to go back to that lonely hell ever again. She wanted someone to talk to her, and she wanted to talk to someone. Why didn't she know about these feelings back then? She was so happy to see herself as a person rather than as Chinma. Xiao Yungyun waited for the day to finally come while reading the messages from the man whose face she didn't even know. She didn't know that the longing feelings inside her chest were getting more and more intense. However, in the corner of her heart, she had a doubt. Can I hold on to this happiness? Supreme Dharma was someone who had achieved a realm of heavenly warrior, a realm higher than herself. Even if everyone in Murim fought him, the odds of winning were slim. How could she avoid the eyes of an existence like him? Is it really possible, or am I just holding onto an impossible hope? It was a weak hope, like an ember of a candle that flickered in a storm. However, Xiao Yungyun refused to give up. It wasn't because of her will, but that hope was the only one thing she could believe in. She was prepared to die if everything failed, so she wrapped the candle in her palms to protect it carefully. In the end, she succeeded in protecting the flickering candle. A wild blizzard that had not stopped for decades finally stopped, and at the same time, hundreds of Murim warriors came to Himalaya. Have you been waiting for a long time? Like a miracle, the door of the cabin that seemed to never open unlatched itself, and a single man walked in. Am I dreaming? It was such a happy day, she felt like she was in a hazy dream. She was worried that she would wake up from this dream and return to those hellish days. That's why she kept checking this reality every now and then. It's not a dream. An unfamiliar pain that she felt on her lower abdomen was telling her that this moment was indeed reality. He was a very friendly and caring man. In fact, Xiao Yungyun also knew that he didn't love her yet. Nevertheless, she had to hold on to him. The only reason why she was able to live even after laying her everything down was because of Yu Xiaodam. He was the first man who gave her the desire to live in the 5 years she wanted to die. She felt thankful, so she would have accepted his unreasonable and rude demands if he ever asked. The reason she asked him to do the deeds with her last night was to reassure herself about her reason to stay alive. It's okay though. She had already decided to keep living, so no matter how much time she needed to wait for him, she would continue waiting for him. Furthermore, it was a wait filled with sweet feelings, not an agonizing wait. She could wait for him for 1,000 years, even 10,000 years. Whoosh! Lotus bloomed from her fingertips. She already gave up the name Chinma and became nothing but Xiao Yungyun, but she still had the skill to make a lotus bloom from her fingertips. At the very least, I can't give up the leader position of the new Murim alliance. A month has passed since I hunted Supreme Dharma. The world changed rapidly as people started to pay more attention to a new force called the Murim Alliance. Murim Alliance, who defeated the SSS-ranked monster who ruled the Himalaya, asked the world to recognize them as Murim warriors, not hunters. This is an interview with Seol Youngyeon, the leader of the Murim Alliance. As Seol Youngyeon walked towards the interviewee on the stage, cheers rang from afar. Her fans come to see her for the interview held in public. In the span of 1 month, she quickly gained popularity. She was an unprecedented talent with a beautiful appearance that seemed unlikely to be found anywhere in the world ever again. And more than that, she was also an SSS rank hunter. Even 31 years after the Great War, only 3 SSS rank hunters emerged, and now all of them were inactive, and so she became the only active SSS rank hunter in the world. She had everything that made people pay attention to her. She was the hope for all hunter that couldn't handle ether. Her knowledge about martial arts, her beautiful appearance, and even her SSS rank status. Perhaps sooner or later, the forces who followed her would grow stronger. Thanks to that, I've been really busy. In the first place, Murim warriors didn't know anything about the hunter industry, so they really needed my help. And I couldn't work alone, so I had no choice but to get help. And among them, there were F-rank hunters as well as former Hunter Association executives. They knew more about the hunter industry than anyone else, and Park Seong-ho even flew to China to help the Seol Youngyeon after hearing that she could revive the prestige of the incompetent F-rank hunter. Murim Alliance. They hadn't accepted modern people yet, but the world had no choice but to pay attention to them because they were the only ray of hope for the incompetent hunters to learn new ability. The newly created Murim Alliance Guild gave their seat of the leader to Seol Youngyeon, but the management rights returned to me. Thus, I made my guild a subsidiary guild under the Murim Alliance. Anyway, both the alliance and my guild were eventually operated by me. I've been so busy, not only do I have to work hard to get the Murim Alliance properly recognized as a guild, I also have to work hard because of personal matters. I want to live for Murim people. It was Shin Hae-jae. It took exactly 1 month for her to move on from her grief. She couldn't accept the reality that her father, whom she trusted with her whole heart, was actually the kind of monster she hated most. Moreover, she quit the academy and was stuck in despair in the reality where there was no one to lean on anymore. Miss Hae-jae. My dad tried to act on wrong justice. Yes, I can't take that. What made her change? I don't know that either. However, it was good to see Shin Hae-jae become more determined than ever. She said, I heard that there's a lack of administration personnel to support the Murim Alliance. It's okay, President Park Seong-ho is operating it right now, so Hae-jae has nothing to worry about. In fact, I can't do it either because my head was a little bit on the dumb side in that aspect. I will go to the Murim Alliance and learn from President Park Seong-ho. I am still lacking a lot. I know too little about everything. Even at martial arts, they are way better than me. At least I need to atone for my father's sins. Miss Hae-jae, you don't have to atone for your father's sins. No, I'll do it. She expressed her determination in a firm manner. I will live my entire life for the Murim people. My martial arts will be used for everyone, so I have a request. Request? Yes, please put a ban on me. What? No, what kind of request is that? Please. She said. If I ever use my dad's Mugong and walk on the wrong path at that time, Mr. Yu Seodam, please stop me. Okay. In the end, I had no choice but to put a ban on Shin Hae-jae. After that, I explained the content of the ban to her. When the user wants, she can destroy her own chi at any time. Perhaps satisfied with the fact that she could no longer go out of line, Shin Hae-jae quit the academy and flew straight to China. She will probably go through numerous trials and errors, because she didn't know much about the industry and she can't even have a conversation without a translator. But the most challenging challenge for her will be the difference between Murim and modern Earth culture. Later. I can't do that. I know. In fact, I didn't put any ban on Shin Hae-jae. In the first place, there was no way I could put a high-level ban that could block someone's magic power anytime I wanted. I said those things to Shin Hae-jae to make her feel as if she was under control. In the future, she would continue to control herself with her own will. His immediate work was over. Contrary to the busy Murim Alliance side, my guild, another league, had just been created, and one of the guild members had already left, so it was only 2 members now. Well, it's earlier than planned. Should I get a new guild member? After thinking for a moment, I talked to the system. Show me my stats. UC Autumn. Level 140. Status. Strength 140. Stamina 140. Agility 140. Energy 1. Mana 180. Talent. Swordsmanship S rank. Intuition A rank. Quick-wit A rank. Shooting C rank. Hunting D+ rank. Cooking D- rank and others. Skill. Protagonist Hunter level 4. Arasanyang Sutra SS+ rank. White Swordsmanship S rank. Concentration S+ rank. How to Run Like the Wind S rank. Inventory S rank. Zixen C rank. Library of the White Witch E rank. My level was 140, and the rank of my skill had risen considerably. According to the system's words, a rank hunter was around level 115, so the current me had a much higher ability than a rank hunter. But of course I shouldn't get conceited. In many worlds there were many strong people, and among them there were superhumans that had URS rank or even higher, such as Dharma. Although I gained strength faster than I ever expected, it was still lacking. There will be a time when I'll need more strength to protect myself and the people around me. Moreover, Hellgate, to get there I need to be stronger than this. My expression hardened when I remembered what I had seen inside the Hellgate. Someone said to me that I saw nothing, that I wasn't sane at the time, and I was so confused that I couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. However, I firmly believed in what I saw. Riane Ju. The other world beyond Hellgate, and her back that I saw there, even though everybody said she's dead. Phew, system, you said you can't find the dimension I want. Yes, because of my lack of strength, I am sorry. No, don't worry about it. If the Protagonist Hunter's level increases, my strength will rise as well. At that time, maybe I could find it. Alright. The Protagonist Hunter's skill became level 4 after successfully hunting Li Dongjun. The amount of items that could be carried from one world to another increased as the inventory skill became S rank. More importantly, the importance of the phrases you can intervene with the flow of the story and the time difference now can be adjusted were pretty big. Time difference, it was also the most important thing to me as I had a lot of work to do on modern Earth. Unlike before, I couldn't spend my time in another world for several months. There were a lot of people looking for me these days. Well then, let's take the next mission already. Good. Oh, before that, there is one thing that bothers me these days. What? Never mind, it's still unclear. I will tell you later. Alright then, please show me the list of the mission. When I was about to receive the list of the mission, suddenly, Skill Library of the White Witch E rank had been raised to D rank. D rank library access and the penalty. The penalty has been offset. I stood up from my seat as soon as I saw the message. What happened? Why did the rank suddenly rise? I immediately activated the Library of the White Witch and entered the imaginary world. When I looked around, I could see spellbooks flying in the air as they found their own place, and as I passed through the E-rank library and reached the end of the corridor, I could see the entrance of the D-rank library was opened wide. Gulp. Can I really go in with no penalty? The penalty has been offset. Can I really go? The penalty has been offset. In the end, I decided to believe what the library said and slowly stepped into the D-rank library. Inside. You come. You, what are you doing here? Well, I thought there was a more interesting book here, so I came in. Before that, how did you get in? I just opened the door and came in. Was it a place I shouldn't have come and I am sorry? No, it's not like that. Yekaterina was reading a book as big as her body. She sat in the corner of the D-rank library with her white hair hanging down. I was bewildered and couldn't help but mutter. You are the real witch. Chapter 80. After successfully hunting the Supreme Dharma, UC Autumn's skill level and his stats had risen considerably. But for some reason, the level of Library of the White Witch remained the same. He was slightly disappointed, but at the same time he understood the reason behind it. The Library of the White Witch was the kind of skill that grew stronger after he completed the trial inside the library. However, UC Autumn forgot about an existence who could pass the gate without even taking the trial. She was the same as him and was the original owner of the library, and she was also human at the same time, so the library affirmed that he didn't have to pass the test. You really just opened the door and came in? Yeah. Did you feel like your emotions were gone, or do I look like a bug in your eyes? In the middle of the D-rank library, where books were as big as the human body and as small as the palm of a hand, scattering around, Yekaterina looked at UC Autumn and shook her head with a bright smile. No, Hunter, UC Autumn is still UC Autumn. Whoa, amazing. Yekaterina was a witch who had survived in modern times. UC Autumn had heard from the system that just like how humans were everywhere in every world, witches also, in fact, existed in many different worlds in their respectful old days. However, in most dimensions, witches would not survive because they would be eradicated. The reason for this was simply because even though they possessed excellent magic skills, their numbers were very small, and they also had a nature which most living beings would hate. And even in some world where they managed to survive, they treated other living things like bugs, not even thinking of interacting with other races. In any case, witches on Earth had hidden in human society in order to survive from the forces who hunted them. And now it is said that some humans had witches' blood mixed in their blood. It was also a mystery how a witch, a creature with no emotion, could give birth to a child. But it was even more interesting how a genius like Yekaterina was born with the ability of prophecy even after centuries of diluted blood lineage in her body. Should I say it is a relief Yekaterina was born with the blood of a witch running through her veins, but she also had feelings which was considered to be shortcomings for a witch. But for humans, that feeling was an essential way to survive. Thanks to that, UC Autumn didn't have to worry about finding a way to control her. And UC Autumn knew that her emotions were not faked, because ever since Yekaterina came into his imaginary world, he was able to read her feelings and thoughts whenever he wanted to. Is that so? UC Autumn glanced around the D-rank library. He hadn't even read books in E-rank yet, so he didn't have any idea about the level of magic on this side of the library. By the way, what's that in the middle? Near Yekaterina, the silver spirit flower wandered around with her 2 feet as she read a book. It was fascinating to see her carrying such a large book with her small body. Ah, are you perhaps talking about Silver? She's sweet and friendly, isn't she cute? Cute. Well, everyone's taste differs from one another, let it be. As UC Autumn glanced toward the silver flower, he took a D-rank magic book and opened it. And then 10 seconds later, he closed it. It has been such a long time since I read a word that it makes me a little emotional. These days, UC Autumn had many things to attend to. He had to study about how the guild and hunter industry worked, and of course he needed to start studying about magic soon. However, he wouldn't start at D-rank. D-rank magic seemed to be at the level of university, while his current magical knowledge was barely at high school level. The reason he could use magic with terrible knowledge of his was thanks to the flower pot. The magic books in the D-rank library contained magic that was incomparable to any magic he had seen before. He wasn't sure about the output level yet, but in terms of application, it could probably even exceed in a rank superhuman. Alright, by the way, what are those things? UC Autumn looked toward the E-rank library. It was decorated with all kinds of furniture. He didn't know when Yekaterina put all of it inside the library. Moreover, there were so many music-related playback devices. Even now, he could hear classical music being played from a LP nearby. The music playing right now was Mozart's Requiem in D minor, K626. Have you ever heard of it? Mozart, of course I know. It's a very famous song. I really like it. As expected, you also have a good music taste. To be honest, he had never heard of it. She slowly rose from her seat and headed towards the E-rank library with an excited step. She touched the various instruments and music players with her hands. You know, before you said I would come here whenever I am falling asleep, right? But I thought it was possible only when I was sleeping. But I could come here even when I closed my eyes and earnestly wished. What, really? Crazy. What she could do was at the same level as UC Autumn when he used his skill. She can't use the search function yet, but she could come to the library and read anytime she wanted. All I do in reality is study, so I come to the library often. And when I imagine the objects I touched with my hands, I could bring them to this library. It doesn't work well for something complicated like an electronic device, but for something like these instruments, it works as long as I know the structure. Is that so? When UC Autumn paid more attention to his surroundings, music was playing all over the library. However, not one musical note overlapped with the other. It was as if every note was prearranged to play in a certain area. UC Autumn felt quite strange to have the inside of his imaginary world being decorated by someone else. Did you create all of these to listen to music because you were bored of reading books? Yeah or no, just It was a random question from UC Autumn, but she was taken aback by it and she responded with a sigh. Actually, everyone used to call me a piano prodigy until I was in my teens and awoke the power of prophecy. Perhaps if I grew just like that, I would have become a renowned pianist. As I gained the power of prophecy, I lost all of my musical abilities. UC Autumn couldn't understand the part she said about losing her musical abilities. Well, no matter what kind of music I listen to, I can only hear a creepy noise. You know, I really loved music. Music was all I had, and it was my life. Maybe UC Autumn would never know how it felt when everything you loved turned into something that would make you feel disgusted by its mere presence. How when something that you once thought of to be as precious as your own life turned into something that was the most terrible thing you had ever laid your eyes upon. He couldn't understand, but he had a vague idea of what she was feeling. It was a lot more painful than the feeling you would experience when your heart was crushed. It feels like you were falling into an endless abyss. It was a place where there was nothing to despair anymore, but in reality, she couldn't help but feel despair even more. The only thing that could be done in that endless abyss was to forcefully hold on to the remnant of the lovely music in her memories. Only then UC Autumn could see why she put so many music-related things in the library. Now that she was able to enjoy music once again, she didn't want to be separated from it even for a single moment. She was a witch who had experienced losing her ability to listen to music once. She was probably worried that she might lose it again, and if she ever lost it again in the future, she wanted to remember the happiness that she felt in this moment. It's good music and it really suits the atmosphere. I also like classical music, so please play it often. Yeah, thank you, hee. A thought popped up UC Autumn's mind while he was quietly stroking the piano. If it's possible to bring these kinds of instruments here, isn't it okay to do some paperwork here? UC Autumn still hadn't got a proper office. He had been looking for a space to conduct his work, but now he thought it would be better to do it while listening to music in this library. He immediately returned to reality, placed his hand on the papers and copied them. Then he brought them back into the library of the White Witch. Wow, you learned so quickly. It took me a while before I could do it perfectly. Of course. He said so, but it wasn't his skill, but rather the flower pot's skill. But he was too embarrassed to admit that he couldn't do better than his tenant. UC Autumn, I am sorry about the delay in rewards distribution. After hunting Supreme Dharma, I had yet to gain any talent and skill. The system was constantly grumbling about something without explaining the reason, but it seems to me that she is sorry for something. To be honest, she doesn't have to do that. Because the protagonist's skill contained so many probabilities, we cannot immediately pay UC Autumn. I think I need to find a solution anyway. I'm not sure about the reason, but I didn't rush her to solve it as soon as possible, knowing that I wouldn't get it right away. Anyway, she keeps trying to solve the problem. It has been going on for over a month already, but I was also quite busy. I didn't have much time to pay attention to it. Take your time. Yes, I will report back to you soon. A few days after that. As usual, Yekaterina was studying in the library while I was completing the paperwork for both Murim Alliance and another league. Currently, my guild was running with a 2-member system, but Yi Sahai, who became Ha Sunyoung's disciple, was growing at a terrifying rate, and recently she had been generating some profits for the guild. Thanks to that, my work has increased a little. But was there any boss in the world that hated more work for their company? So while doing paperwork in her library, it was really a coincidence that she saw my paperwork. Well, that's a headache. What? No, it's nothing. I got a call from the Murim Alliance. There are some people who keep using the name of their martial arts, whether in the guild or in the country. Then Yekaterina tilted her head for a moment and said, "Can't you just designate Mugong as a superpower special intellectual property?" Superpower what? Long ago, there was a dispute going on because some guild was trying to steal Morian Guild's magic. Come to think of it, didn't she say that the core member of the Morian Guild is made up of witches? It was a pretty interesting story. These days, all things related to superpower or mystical ability are recognized as technology. Why? Because every skill is different from the other. That's why it is now treated as an identity, in other words, a weapon. So if you designated it as a superpower special intellectual property, people can't openly steal that technology. Well, there are many ways to work around it, but it would be difficult to touch a martial artist who's recognized as mystical ability wielder. Really? Poof. All worries that had been bugging me for days were gone in a single moment. From then on, I continued to ask her many questions, and I realized that Yekaterina was more capable than I thought. Park Seong-ho and I knew a lot about the guild industry and the Murim Alliance, but in the field of mystical abilities, Yekaterina was much more knowledgeable than both of us combined. You really you? Yes. You are the best. Oh, I know I am a little awesome. How long have I tried to introduce Mugong, an ability that was difficult to fit into modern times? As if mocking all my worries, Yekaterina resolved it quickly. In that aspect, she was very knowledgeable. There was practically nothing she didn't know. Come to think of it, my guild was going to teach both martial arts and magic. Currently, I am teaching Ha Sunyoung my white swordsmanship so she could teach it to other members. And Yi Sahai was her first disciple, but isn't it difficult for me to teach magic? What if Yekaterina joins another league? She could be in charge of the magic department and help both the Murim Alliance and another league in administrative matters, while Ha Sunyoung would be in charge of swordsmanship. Thus, another league could grow by utilizing individuality from both sides. More importantly, if Yekaterina joins another league and takes over the management, I could go to different worlds without worrying about something going wrong, since she was far superior compared to me in those fields. But it's a shame that you are already in the Morian Guild. Really? Yeah, you're really the right talent for our guild, but honestly, our guild can't compare to the Morian Guild. Although mentally she was tied to me, I had no intention to force her. If I do that, it would be the same as retraining her, who had been confined to her museum for her whole life. So it was quite regrettable. The Morian Guild is one of the best guilds in the world. Besides, recently, she said they've been working on a project together with Lost Day, so there was no meaning for her to quit a guild of that size and join a new guild with only 3 guild members. Please take me in. I can do anything you ask. I am willing to be a machine that works for you for the rest of my life. Yekaterina stood up to me and grabbed my hand. Her white eyes were twinkling as she spoke. If you take me out of Morian, I have the confidence to work like a dog for you. It was more like a plea rather than an answer. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.